All right. Hello. My name is Drew Rifkin, and I will be presenting to you, or starting the presentation today, on a joint webinar between Safe Software and Socrata. There's going to be 4 different people throughout the talk, and we'll go through that, who's on the call as we hit the agenda. So I'm going to give a brief overview of Safe Software and FME, hopefully very quick. We know that we have some people that are attending this webinar who have been driven here by the Socrata team who may not know much about us, so we'll do a very high-level overview there. Then we're going to do a very high-level overview on Socrata and their open data platform. Again, there are a lot of people here who are from the FME side who may know very little about Socrata, so it'll be a very high-level introductory overview. And then we're going to have a few demos. We're going to have a demo conceptualized here at Safe Software by Laura, and then a demo conceptualized by Jordan over at Socrata with some QA and wrap-up. We have a very aggressive 30-minute schedule for this call. We'll do our best to keep on time, but we do plan on having QA, so if that QA goes over a few minutes, then hopefully you have the time to stay with us, and if not, we will have this recorded and pass out the URL to everyone to view the whole presentation after the fact. During the webinar, there is a questions button, and we do hope that you are that you correspond to us with that, and we will respond to the questions very quickly. So please feel free to type in any questions, as well if there's any concerns with the volume or audio, or if there's any latency problems with the slides, please do let us know through the questions window. We'll be very happy to attempt to correct anything. So at this point, before we dig in, we have a poll question, and I'm going to ask Laura to run this poll for us.
All right.
So we're going to actually check to see if people are listening. And this question is to tell us what you're currently, if you're currently using FME, Socrata, or neither. So I believe hopefully you can choose more than one box. And we'll leave this poll open. We're pretty much for another, we have 75% voted, so we'll give you guys 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and the polls are closed. Now, do we get to see the result of that poll, Laura?
Yeah, I'll just share the results. Here we go.
Okay, so we are at 60% FME users, 30% Socrata, and none of these 24%. So hopefully by the end of this, none of these will have a bit more of a better understanding of the whole picture, and vice versa for the FME and Socratas. So all right, so as we move on, we're going to now give you a very high-level overview here of what we do at Safe Software. So myself, Drew Rifkin, and my colleague Laura will be the 2 representatives of the bigger community. We're about 95 people big, and our headquarters is in Vancouver. We have thousands of happy customers. And what we do is we're the creators and main distributors of a product called FME. We have a desktop and server product. We're going to be focusing on the desktop product today, but our server product basically takes the power of our desktop product and turns it into an enterprise solution. We work with a lot of different players in the market in the goal of data interoperability and transformation of data between different systems. So as you can imagine, it's very important for us to maintain a number of different relationships with the different vendors. Today we're going to be focusing on our relationship, our wonderful relationship with our friends in Socrata, just south of us down in Seattle. So here at Safe Software, the goal of moving data between different systems, the key point in the barrier to entry is always the file format supported. So we can read and write over 300 different file formats. And the term format is very general to us. We consider databases and data streams and anything that really holds data, a data container, a file format. So we can read between all of these different file formats and database types. We consider Socrata one single format. So that's the barrier of entry, but the true power of moving data between different systems really comes down to the transformation of that data. So the modifications of the specific features, be it attribution or geometry or coordinate system or other types of requirements to make the data user ready in the destination system. And in today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on the destination system being the Socrata Open Data portal. So to give you an understanding, this is a screen capture of the FME workbench, which is the graphical user environment in which you develop your business rules for facilitating the manipulation of that data. So on the left side, you start with your source data, and then in these blue and green boxes are basically different business rules or transformation tools that make that move that data so it can fit in a systematic way into the destination, which would be, in this webinar, a Socrata database. So we are now up to a more challenging question. So I'll ask Laura if she'd be so kind as to turn on the question for you.
All right.
Okay, and here we're asking if you have an open data solution with lots of different answers. Yes, the top one being yes, and it utilizes Socrata and FME. Only Socrata, only FME. And then if you do not have an open data solution, are you planning to have one, or are you not planning on having one? So looks like we are at about 66%, 68, okay. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Polls closed. So to the proud 5 of you that are utilizing both Socrata, 5% Socrata and FME, congratulations. And here we are showing a wide range and relatively even distribution of the 3 in the middle. So thank you very much for facilitating that poll. Before I close up my presentation on safe software and FME, I did want to make everyone aware of our Getting Started page, which has, I guess, a shortened URL here, as well as we do weekly FME desktop overview webinars. I believe they're every Thursday morning for about an hour, and it's a much more deep dive into the specific types of tools and transformations that can be done with FME. So on that note, I hand it over to Lisa Williams over at Socrata, where she will be giving a brief overview on Socrata, and I am going to figure out now how to give Lisa the presentation. Well, thank you, and away goes Lisa.
Thank you so much, Drew, and hi to everyone who is attending. My name is Lisa Williams. I'm our Director of Partner Channels, and I have joining me here in the room Jordan Gilbertson, who is one of our data solution architects. So as Drew mentioned, I think we're on a bit of a tight time frame, so I will give you a brief overview of Socrata and kind of just go through this at a very high level, and then invite you to take a look at our site or give us a call or contact us in some other way if you're interested in talking about Socrata in more detail. But just briefly, we are a Seattle-based software as a service, cloud-based software company. We are really all about open data and government transparency. And the tagline that we often use is that we are focused on the consumerization of public data. There are many cities that are now using Socrata, so those include Chicago, New York, Seattle, San Francisco, and lots of others. I think we have the majority of maybe the top 20 cities in the United States. We also have many state customers as well as many federal agencies, and then lots of international customers as well as cities, regions, and countries. So we really supply tools or solutions for publishing, querying, and embedding data visualizations. We also have a set of APIs. It's referred to as the Socrata Open Data API version 2.0. So as I mentioned, we are really focused on the consumerization of data. So as these public entities are looking to take their data and make it more transparent and publish it out to their citizens and constituents, they're looking for tools and solutions in a way that they can do this, which makes it easy for the non-technical user to be able to use. So here is just a quick screenshot of one of our sites that is up and available. And so you can see that we take this underlying open data and in this case define some visualizations. There's a pie chart and a graph chart, and so really provide the end user, which could just be anyone in the general public as well as journalists and researchers, provide them with a set of tools that allows them to access and visualize, kind of tell the story about this data. So our primary product, initial product, is the Socrata Open Data portal. And so that, as I mentioned, allows customers to launch an open data portal and to publish their open data catalogs. And so again, it's really presented, it's co-branded with whoever the agency is and really intended to be in a consumer, easy-to-use type of experience. Beyond just doing an open data portal, you know, there's really ways to make this data actionable, which kind of leads us to a product that we've released recently called GovStat. And so you can take this open data and you can actually use that to do some tracking against KPIs or metrics. Let's say that I'm a city or I'm a state and I have metrics that I am interested in only tracking but communicating out to my constituents, and that could be reducing crime or increasing test scores. And so you can use that underlying data, you can set performance metrics against it, and then you can use GovStat to actually track that and then communicate that out to interested citizens. And so on this slide you will see that there are a couple of examples, Maryland State Stat as well as what the city of Edmonton is doing. So we also have, as I mentioned earlier, the Socrata API Foundry, which helps deliver developer type of APIs for your data. So I kind of want to just jump into a little bit of case study because I think this all sounds great on slides, but I think it's always interesting to share with you a real world customer. So to talk a little bit about the city of San Francisco, they have more than 800,000 residents that come up with a lot of different requests, everything from sidewalk repairs to campaign finance information. And so they adopted an open data policy in 2010. There's some legislation, I think, in the works that will make this mandatory for San Francisco and other cities and potentially the state of California. But one of the challenges that the city of San Francisco had is that there were lots of different parts of the city of San Francisco, lots of different organizations and smaller agencies that had data in all these different silos and all these different formats. And so they were really challenged with how to help these other departments get this data into one central repository. So this is really where SAFE's FME product comes into it. So they thought, wouldn't it be great if we could just use the Socrata Open Data APIs to replace this data and automatically have it updated daily. So daily, kind of take this, oops, I have a calendar request there. Let me just delete that. Okay. And so the San Francisco began using Safe Software's SME platform to help move that daily data automatically onto the Socrata platform. So Safe Software developed a writer specifically for loading the broad range of data files into Socrata, so eliminating the need for a unique connector to be written by, in this case, by the city of San Francisco. So the end result was really this significant time savings in terms of managing this data and getting into a central platform, improved transparency, and really just greater efficiency overall for the city. In fact, the city really talks about this now in terms of set it and forget it, which I think is kind of a just a great little marketing tag. I mean, I think that kind of says it all in those 5 words. And so the end goal also for San Francisco is really just to keep their staff working on what is important. So the more that they can automate this process and the more that they can make this data available to the public, so the much better for providing better services for citizens and, again, allowing the city of San Francisco to focus on other more important issues. So with that, I think I'll kind of hand this back over to Laura, and so maybe going a step deeper and actually showing you guys a demonstration of how this works.
As we hand it over back to Laura, there is a question here for you, Lisa. Maybe we'll hold off on the questions until until our Q&A. So just briefly, Al, hold with us here, and we'll get to your question in just a few minutes.
Okay, so with that, I'll just get into a brief demo here, just showing what the Socrata writer in FME looks like. So here, I've just got a workspace that I've prepared for this. Inside this workspace, I'm taking a source data set that's coming from an AutoCAD format. So this is just an AutoCAD data set with information about property boundaries. So I'll just show you what this data set looks like to begin with. So you can just see a whole bunch of polygons showing lots, and there's a set of attributes on them with information. I've got a coordinate for them and a site ID. So that's what I'm dealing with here. So I want to take this information and put it into Socrata. So just through my workflow here, I'll just show you what I'm doing. So I've got a tester transformer. So this is one of the transformation tools that we have in FME. So in here, I'm just using this to kind of validate some of the attributes coming in from my source data set. So I just want to make sure my coordinate attribute actually exists on some of the features, just to make sure my data set's clean and get rid of anything that's going to potentially cause a problem inside my workspace. The next one I have here is called a joiner transformer. And inside here, I'm taking the source data set that I have, so with the location information of all my land parcels, and I want to grab some additional information to add to this. So I want some information about the streets, maybe property values and all that. And that's stored inside another database. This is just another format that's supported by FME. So I'm taking it from a Postgres database. And so I'm joining on this P coordinate and the land coordinate field. So this is coming from my input AutoCAD field. And this is a field from my Postgres database. And I'm going to grab a whole set of additional fields or columns that I'm going to add into Socrata later on. So it's taking this information from 2 separate formats and pulling it together into a single feature. And then I'm just going to write out to Socrata. So this is the Socrata writer here. So I'll just open this up and show you the properties. So inside here, the feature type name, this is what defines the name of the table that I'm going to create when I write this out to Socrata. So you can see my writer here, opendata.socrata. Next, I've got a list of all the attributes or all the column names that I want to be adding or creating in this table when I do go to create it. I can select a different type for each of the columns. So we've got a list of all the supported column types here, so I can control exactly how these map. We've got calendar dates, checkboxes, stars, text, URL, and all those. So this one's a number. So you can see I've got a few of them set out here. And then finally, on this last section for format parameters, I can control some of the properties of this table. So I want this data set to be published by FME, so I don't have to do that myself when I go into Socrata. I'm going to keep this as private, and since I'm just creating this for the first time, I'm not going to be replacing an existing data set. And down here at the bottom, this is the name of the column that's going to store the geometry information that I'm writing out. So you can see in this case, I'm taking a set of lines or polygons that I'm going to be writing into Socrata, but by default, we'd only have only points would be supported inside my Socrata table. So FME is going to take my polygon information and automatically convert that into points for when it writes up to Socrata, so that this is all compatible and it all works and displays on the other side. So I'll just run this right now. I can show you the output. So inside here, actually, in my Socrata writer, I can control exactly how I log in. So I can say the host that I'm writing out to, my username and password to connect into Socrata. And here in the background, it's just building up a table. So I've got a logger here. It's keeping track of some of the invalid features that I've got. And this is building up all the information. I'm going to send that out to Socrata. So it just takes a couple minutes. So it's transferring up to the site now. Should be done in a second. There we go. So you can see I've got about 6,000 features that were just written out to this brand new properties table in my Socrata account. I had 30 features that failed my tester, so these were invalid. So I'm going to have to deal with those in some other way, maybe manually later on. And so I'll just open up Socrata here, refresh the page, see if my table is in there. So you can see here, I've got this brand new table called properties with all the information I just wrote out from my 2 source data sets. So you've got my civic number and all the attributes in there, all with the correct column type. So you can see the money column type here. And at the very end, I've got the geometry, and these are just points at this, right here at this end. So you can see just a single coordinate corresponding to the location of each of the properties that I wrote out here. Okay, so that's it for the basic demo here. Great. So with that, I'll pass this over to Jordan from Socrata, who's got another demo that he wants to show. So I'll just change the presenter over. Sorry.
So we do have a question that said it looked like you might have had some duplicates inside of your database there, or inside the Socrata. Could you have modified your workspace to test and make sure that you didn't provide duplicate?
Yeah, there's a whole set of transformers inside there. Yeah, I could use that to test for duplicate values and filter those out. I can modify some of the attribute values if I wanted to change them up or clean some of them up in there as well. So
right, but for the simplicity and the time constraints of this webinar, we're just showing a very high level data load, but there's lots of tools inside of FME to put appropriate business rules in place to do stuff like duplicates. We have a few more questions coming in. So, but we're going to move over to Jordan, and we'll go through some of the rest of those questions as at the Q&A point. So, Jordan, here you are.
All right. And so, in this one, we're really kind of coming at this from a slightly different angle of, instead of bringing polygons in as points, this is actually basically the notion here is we want to take 3-on-1 data, the data that's coming in from a call center, which is tabular data without really any sort of geospatial context or lat longs to begin with, and then go ahead and bring that into Socrata to provide a little more geospatial context, as well as clean it up and reformat it so that it's in the structure that is both machine readable, so people can build visualizations on top of it, as well as, just makes sense and there aren't a lot of dedupes, and it dedupes the fields and so forth. So starting here, just real quick, so like the underlying data set is just a pretty straightforward CSV here. You can see it's just got some details of 3-on-1 calls and so forth. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring that in. And by design, this is actually supposed to be reading from SQL Server, but in this case, I just went ahead and extracted that as a CSV for the sake of simplicity here. It's going to check if it basically checks so that it only includes open 3-on-1 tickets from this data set. So if we look back at that field, you can see this one on the left. Some of these have some dates inside of them, and it's going to go ahead and automatically remove those so that the map that we're about to create only includes data points that are from open tickets. At which point, it's going to go ahead and reformat all of these date fields, because currently the date fields are in a kind of weird format as they're being extracted. So you can see it's actually doing a series of transformers to change both the time as well as the date to make it compatible with Socrata. And then it's just going through kind of a pretty similar flow here to what we were just looking at with Laura, where it's renaming certain attributes, certain columns, and resource URIs so that it looks basically, to a human, it looks like something as opposed to something that is just, a random string of characters that you can't necessarily understand, as well as doing some testing to make sure that all of this is working and that it looks clean. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And I'm, just like Laura was watching here, I'm going to take a few minutes to go ahead and start writing this to Socrata. And as it's doing this, it's actually going to be geocoding it as well, since that was not included in the original data set. And we'll wait just a second here. And it does not seem to be moving. Okay. Well, this is what happens when you do live demos. It works 10 times when you try it, and it doesn't work. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go in here.
Yes, I think we've all experienced this, Jordan. I know I can raise my hand.
I'm going to go ahead and sheet. I did this literally 10 minutes ago, and this is what it looks like. So I will figure out what's going on there. But as you can see, it's been uploaded similar to that file we were looking at before. And on the right here, it has the geocoded lat longs, which were not there before. And if we go ahead in here and we go ahead and want to visualize this as a map, we can now do so and create a point-based map on top of this, at which point we now are looking at a series of 0 and 1 calls throughout San Francisco. And there we are. So with that, I will go ahead and pass this back to Drew, I believe.
That's great. Thank you. All right, so now we are at the Q&A point of our presentation. So Lisa, Jordan, Laura, thank you guys very much. As proof that we're doing these demos live, that's why we had Jordan's demo not work. That was on purpose to show everyone that we are doing this live. So we do have a number of questions up. And please feel free to submit more questions as we go through. Maybe we'll just respond to a few of them. So one of the questions here says, does Socrata only support point type geometries? So Jordan, I'll leave that question to you.
Yeah, actually, no. We recently did release a feature which allows us to natively ingest both shape files and KML files, so we can include polygon layers now. It's just that the particular transformer that we were working with there is designed for points, which is why it was done in that way, but that's absolutely something that can be done.
Great. And then another question here is, it says, I thought that Socrata did an auto geocode if addresses or lat longs are present. Perhaps I missed that. So I think that this is specific to Laura's demonstration. I believe that's what this question is about. And in that scenario, if we had an address to geocode against, it could have done that, I believe, right, Jordan?
Oh, yeah, that's correct. We do geocode everything that has addresses. Right,
but in this scenario, we were working with parcels that didn't necessarily have addresses in the native format. So what we did was we derived the center point of the polygon and utilized that to create the lat long. But realistically, since we did have the address in an adjoining database, we could have grabbed that address and then utilized this Socrata geocoder as well. So those are just two different ways to skin a cat. The next question here is, in our experience, what's the major limitation of the FME transformer feature set? That's a good question. I think that the limitations that people run into, this is Drew, I've been here for a long time, the limitations people run into are either the learning curve and their ability to comprehend the girth of the number of transformation tools we have and the potential complexity that could be utilized, and also just the maybe the creativity to cultivate all of the different types of business rules that can be put together. So we have all these tools. It's a huge tool set, and some of the limitations sometimes come down to figuring out how to string all these tools together to get what you need. But if there are any further questions on that, please feel free to contact us. I think here's some general contact information. There's my email address. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to have further discussions or maybe look at some specific demonstrations for you. Next question I have here is, does FME support any kind of automation?
Oh, yes, it can. Yeah, so you can do that in, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I guess server is probably the best way to do that. You can schedule jobs to run on a regular basis. So if you have a specific set of data that you always want to be maybe dumping up into your Socrata database, you can have that run, every night at midnight and have it add whatever additional features are in there and update existing tables and all that.
That's right. And to further what Laura said, in our desktop product, we do have the ability to run your FME desktop from the command line. Mm-hmm. You can then take that into a batch file and put that into a Windows scheduler in a very lowbrow automation, or you can take a more enterprise approach by utilizing our server tools and having a scalable queue-based solution. So a next question here is, how is metadata handled? Do you guys have any work on the Socrata side in handling metadata, and if you utilize FME for any of that?
Yeah, so part of the upload process when you're bringing data into Socrata is a metadata screen, effectively. And basically, what you can do is you can go ahead and bring in metadata. So basically, it would be an additional step in that kind of upload workflow where you would be able to define metadata fields. And you can also do custom metadata fields as well. So there's a lot of options in that regard.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Jordan. I'm going to give Laura back the presenter mouse here to handle the next question. The next question says, could you please show how the connection to the Socrata is actually set up?
Okay, so I'll just show what it looks like when you go to create, to add a new Socrata writer into your workspace. So you just type that in as the format, and then inside parameters, the connection settings are just set up in there. So you just choose your host, add in your username and your password, and basically that's it. You're good to go from there.
Great. So if there's any more details that you require on that, again, I'll put back that slide. I'll put back that slide on my screen here. Figure out how to do that. Perfect. Oh, wrong slide. There's that. Okay. So again, if there's any other questions on that, we'll be happy to set it up. Here is the one from one of my favorite police officers. Is there a writer coming that can write polygons and line geometry into Socrata, or does it already exist? In my understanding, it already exists. Jordan, I believe you guys support, is it KML and something else as well?
Yes, we do. Yep, that's correct. So shapefiles and KML files.
So we don't have a geometrically enabled Socrata writer at this point, but we can write data into these intermediary file formats like KML and shapefile, so the geometries can be input into Socrata. And I would imagine there's an enhancement request coming at some point to to integrate that into one solid writer so that geometry can go directly in there? That's a really good question. Thank you. Next question. Does Socrata offer a solution free similar to the Microsoft OGDI? And
so two kind of parallel answers to that. First, we do have a public portal, which is actually what Laura uploaded the data to at opendata.socrata.com, which is a place where anyone can go and register for an account and can upload one or two data sets. In addition to that, we, to a limited extent, we have open sourced our API server. So if you're looking to just basically API enable and provide some of the underlying stack for enabling your data, that is possible as well. And then beyond that, yeah, everything else is really kind of going to the next step there and introducing solutions that are at cost for individual government organizations so they can start to leverage those capabilities in a little more depth.
This is Lisa. I will just add that we have had some OGDI customers that are looking to move to Socrata. So we're also in the process of putting together some guidance for those customers that are interested in doing that. And so I would say look for that soon coming from Socrata, if there's anyone out there running on OGDI looking at Socrata.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. The next question here is, can the Socrata map visualization tool use be defined, have a user-defined base map? Excuse me.
Yeah, so that's definitely in our wheelhouse, and we have done that before. Right now, the base maps we have about 8 base maps, I believe. We have 2 from Google, 2 from Bing, and 4 from Esri. We can actually take other base maps as well. It's just not kind of a commonly exposed part of the platform. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you can basically just let us know, and we can work with you to make that happen.
Great. All right. As well, Lisa and Jordan, I don't have a slide here to provide your contact details. If you want to put one together quickly, we could pass the presenter over to you so people could see how to contact you as well, and just let me know and we'll pass the presenter to you once you have that up there. But to move on to the next question, are there any future thoughts of a Socrata reader to consume public Socrata data sets into your own business operations? And that's a really great question. To this point, I do believe we have an enhancement request in our system to build a writer. We have not yet started development on that. However, if that is something that's of interest to you, please email into our support our support line, support@safe.com, or through the portal here on the screen, safe.com/support, and suggest and request that. What happens when inside our internal workings, when you request something that we do not currently support, your name gets added to the list. So first you will be aware of it when we will make you aware when that functionality becomes available. As well, it helps us to wait and prioritize. So please do write in and put that in there so we can do that. So the next question we have here, is there a way to set up source file connections to an FTP location requiring a login account through the FME reader? So basically, can FME read from the FTP site if there's a login requirement?
Yeah, I think that's an enhancement request for now. We can hook up to an FTP site, and I think if you use what's it called? It's like a basic authentication. You can actually put that into the URL to put the username and password in. But we do have an enhancement to add proper support for username and password for an FTP site when reading. So again,
please. I know that it sounds like a relatively easy fix, but if you could email that into support@safe.com with your contact information, we can make you aware of that when FME can read from a password-protected FTP site, and that will help us wait that. Although I'm pretty sure that's pretty soon coming. I know that there's been discussions about that, and it should be a relatively simple thing to add. And then another question about adding and editing metadata. Um, Jordan, do you want to speak to that again? Or
So you definitely can both add and edit metadata. I guess I would have to see a little more context around what that means to speak to it more specifically. But once data is in Socrata, it's very, very easy to both add and change existing metadata, actually through basically a little wizard that does it for you. You don't actually have to be familiar with metadata files or have a lot of technical expertise to do so. So yeah.
great. And again, so do you guys have that slide available with your contact information?
I believe we do.
We do.
This computer. Yep.
On Lisa? So specific to the metadata, you know, if you want to contact either SAFE or Socrata directly, so I had SAFE's contact information up there for a while. Here's Lisa and Jordan's. I believe any technical type questions such as metadata would probably be best be pointed towards Jordan. So I have a comment here from a good friend of ours, our favorite cop, Brett Lord Castillo. And his comment is that he used FME and Socrata Writer extensively recently in a National Day of Civic Hacking, and he was able to, he found a lot of usage and benefit to utilizing the Centroid methodology in working with polygons and Socrata tables. So just to highlight that, Brett wanted to share that with the group. And now on to the next question here. This would be for automation via FME server. Where wouldn't?
I think that's a follow-up to the FTP reading question. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will pass that off. Okay, I think. Can FME be used to move data between Socrata's GovStat and Open Data portal platforms? The quick answer to that would be no. We currently, the way that FME works is that we read and write the data. Back to an earlier question, we do not currently have a Socrata reader inside of FME, so we would not be able to at least natively read the Socrata GovStat package and move that into the Open Data portal. Did you want to speak any more to that, Jordan?
Yeah, one other thing, I'm 90% sure this is the case, but due to the fact that the actual basically data store and data library behind GovStat and Open Data are effectively the same, you should be able to upload to both of them. It's just moving between the two is, due to the fact that there isn't a reader, is, I think, something that is definitely something we would like to see happen, and it just isn't in place quite yet.
Okay, next question here. Can you describe a basic recommended workflow or daily loading into Socrata, particularly source data location?
Yeah, so really the most straightforward one is, so one of the awesome things about FME is that you can set up basically scheduled jobs. And so what you can do is either use our publisher API to connect directly into an existing system and then extract that out and then have FME transform it as it's coming into Socrata. Or feasibly, you could have FME connect directly into that system and pull it into Socrata. And basically, it would just be you could set up a daily schedule for doing so.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Jordan. So the next question here, I love it's an easy question. Will you be making these slides available? Yes. Yes, we will be making the slides available. Absolutely. We will have them posted, and we will be sending out an email to everybody with the URL to the slides and the recording of this presentation. Yes, so that's again the second that question again. Does FME have plugin support? Absolutely. There's a lot of different things that can be meant by plugin support. We have the ability for you to write your own custom formats and plug them in. We have the ability for you to write your own custom coordinate systems and plug those in. So there's a number of different ways that you can plug things into FME Again, feel free to reach out to me, drew.rifkin@safe.com, or I have a much easier alias, drew@safe.com, which works just the same. Our next question here has to do with Python. Are there any plans to create a Python module for interfacing with Socrata? The existing one is deprecated.
Actually, there is one. It is simply not there, and I need to actually harass the guy who is supposed to have put the new one on there because I thought it was up already. So the answer to that is yes.
And I'll give you a double yes in that FME can support Python. We have Python callers, pre-process, post-process, and tools that can call Python in the middle of a process. So if you're utilizing FME to load data into Socrata, you would inherently have Python capabilities within the FME product as well. I have some thank yous. Okay. So when you say system, in addition to database, what other source locations and formats?
So if you're talking about FME, it'd be any of the supported formats inside FME. So there's a whole variety of that. So it goes like any variety of database formats. We have file-based formats as well that you can work with.
I'm just going to show it quickly here. I'll just pull up Safe Software.
Yeah, we've got a format list up on our website. Is that what you're?
That's right.
Yeah. So basically, whatever format you're working with, if it's in the supported list, you can use it.
So here is a very high-level list. There's, like I said, there's over 300. So they're in alphabetical order. If there's anything particular that you're interested in, you can start typing it in here and find it. So since we're talking Socrata, you can see here that we have a Socrata reader writer, and then the different editions and so forth. And what you can see here is that there's a W, which means that we can write to it. There'd be an R if we could read from it as well. As just an example. Okay. So switch mice here. Could we write to our own Socrata reader? Absolutely. You could definitely write your own Socrata reader utilizing Socrata's Open API. We would work with you to, and you'd have a number of methods in which you could incorporate that into FME. You can keep that for yourself. We could possibly distribute that with the product, or we have something called the FME store, where you can actually have that for sale as an extra cost plugin to our product, and then sell that to our client base if they're interested in it. So there's lots of different options. Again, Kevin, before you go down that road, I would really recommend contacting me first. We can give you some great best practices advice on how to build plugins to FME, and then kind of go through all the different business options for distributions of those. So please feel free to contact me for that. At that point, I believe we have culminated all of the questions. So I would like to thank everyone. I do have a few wrap-up slides I kind of skipped by. So I did want to just make everyone aware that we're going to be having another webinar on July 31st on how to slice and dice 10 types of data into ArcGIS. So hopefully you can join us for that. And I guess we're not asking you, but we're telling you that we will be following up. So if you do not want to receive any follow-up emails, I guess this is my opportunity to apologize in advance for them. So on that note, I say thank you. I apologize for going over, but the amount of questions, excellent questions, I think were incredible, and I really look forward to having the opportunity to speak with everyone further. Jordan, Lisa, Laura, thank you guys,
Yes, thank you.
and everyone have a great day.
Bye, everyone.